lost my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Join me on Patreon to watch up to 5 episodes of this series and others in advance that are live right now. With that said, enjoy. Peep, 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 peep. The shrill alarm of the scouters cut through the chaos. Just after swatting down a cluster of weak opponents, reducing them to nothing but drifting smoke and scattered dust, Bruce and Sprout both spun around. Their readings had spiked. From behind. No way! Bruce's words choked off. The number glaring at him on the display made his gut clench. He froze, just long enough for Pui Pui to explode into range. The Zune warrior's armored leg cut through the air like a whip. Crack! His boot slammed into Bruce's jaw with such force that the Saiyan's head snapped sideways before his body even realized it had been struck. Sprout reacted instantly, snapping his palm up and firing a quick ki blast at the assailant, but Pui Pui didn't even bother dodging. He flicked his arm casually, and the glowing sphere was swatted aside like an insect. It spun back towards Sprout, forcing him to brace for impact. The moment Sprout's guard came up, Pui Pui was there. His fist slammed deep into Sprout's gut, an iron piston backed by 6,000 units of crushing force. Sprout's ribs groaned under the impact. His breath punched from his lungs in a sharp wheeze. Before he could even bend forward, Pui Pui's elbow smashed into his face, snapping his head back and sending him skidding across the rock. "One moment you're up," Pui Pui said with a cruel grin. Next moment, he clicked his tongue. "You're down." Raditz's voice trembled as he stared at his scouter. 6,000! His lip quivered. This wasn't possible. How had no one picked this up? How could this thing be so strong? Across the battlefield, Nappa, still brushing blood from his knuckles after pounding an enemy into the ground, jerked his head toward Raditz. "What? 6,000? Are you sure?" Raditz's eyes stayed locked on the reading. Positive. He's even stronger than Vegeta. Nappa's head swiveled toward the prince, who at that moment was playing. Vegeta wasn't killing his foes outright. He was dismantling them, humiliating them, letting them come back for more before knocking them down again. Nappa didn't bother calling to him. If there was one thing he knew, it was that Vegeta hated interruptions mid-fight. Instead, his gaze tracked Pui Pui as the alien blurred in and out of sight, hammering both Bruce and Sprout at once. The two Saiyans tried to strike together, fists cocked back, only to swing at empty air. Pui Pui vanished. A heartbeat later, twin blasts tore into their backs. The impact hurled both warriors forward, smashing them into the jagged rock of Zune's surface. The crowd erupted. Hundreds of Zune onlookers clapped, shouted, and roared with approval. For the first time, they weren't just afraid of Pui Pui. They were proud. Whether he fought to protect them or just to show off didn't matter. He was keeping the invaders from enslaving them, and that was enough. "Get up!" Raditz called sharply. They didn't. Bruce and Sprout twitched, groaning, but their legs wouldn't move. Pui Pui's strikes had been precise, brutal, targeting the spine. They were paralyzed from the waist down. It was over for them, and Pui Pui knew how to end it. Nappa's eyes narrowed. Unlike many Saiyan nobles, the bald giant had a shred of loyalty to his comrades. He crouched slightly, ready to charge. "Stay here, Raditz. I'm going to get..." Boom! Pui Pui's arm snapped out. A sphere of energy roared from his palm, engulfing the downed Saiyans before Nappa could move. The explosion lit the battlefield in white fire. When it cleared, nothing was left, just drifting ash. Pui Pui wagged a finger at Nappa, smirking. "Whoopee, should have moved faster." Tisk tisk, two warriors, on the verge of promotion, gone as if they were nothing but trash. Nappa's jaw tightened. He hadn't been close to Bruce or Sprout, but this wasn't just an attack on them. It was an insult to the Saiyan force itself. A challenge. Rah! He hurled his palm forward, condensing a blinding ball of white Kai, and launched it with a roar. Pui Pui didn't even flinch. "Yeah, no." His fist came down like a hammer, smacking the energy sphere straight back toward its source. No, not at Nappa, at Raditz. Raditz reacted on instinct, blasting upward just in time for the attack to detonate beneath him. The shockwave rattled his bones and spun him mid-air before he could steady himself. Wham! Pui Pui was there, his armored fist colliding with Raditz's cheek. The blow was so sharp it nearly broke his jaw, the pain flashing white behind his eyes. Raditz screamed, tumbling from the sky and slamming into the ground hard enough to leave a crater. He was already charging a finishing blast when Nappa appeared behind him, massive arms reaching to lock in a full Nelson. But Pui Pui's knee shot up into his gut before the hold could close. Nappa grunted, doubling over. A slap cracked across his face, followed by a brutal knee to the stomach. Before the Saiyan could fall, Pui Pui's double axe handle smashed into his back, sending him crashing to his knees with such force that cracks spiderwebbed out in the rock beneath them. The Zune warrior planted his boot between Nappa's shoulders, pressing down until the Saiyan's face scraped against the ground. Raditz stirred, groaning, blood trickling from his mouth. His body was already mottled with bruises. This was the first time he'd been hit like that. Really hit. And the ache went deeper than muscle. Across from him, Nappa kept getting back up. Every time he did, he swung harder, angrier, and every time, Pui Pui sidestepped, countered, and humiliated him further. Another sidestep, another uppercut, another kick to the chest. For what felt like the 10th time, Nappa's body hit the dirt. This time he stood, his face flushed red, veins bulging at his temples like they might burst. His breaths came ragged, more fury than oxygen. I'm going to kill you. Nappa, calm down. Vegeta's voice cracked across the battlefield like a whip. The sound cut through the haze of rage, and Nappa turned toward him. Ah, Vegeta, you're finally done? The prince didn't even glance at his former opponents. Obviously not. His eyes locked onto Pui Pui, a thin, sharp smile on his lips. I still have him to deal with. Pui Pui's grin widened. Little kid, tuck your tail in and leave this to the big boys. Pip. The scouter's sharp beeping cut through the noise of battle. 6,000! Vegeta's voice was low, but his eyes gleamed with predatory interest. His own power level had recently climbed to 5,000, just enough to finally surpass Nappa. But now, here before him, was something he had never faced before. A non-Saiyan whose strength exceeded his own. A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. Of all my battles, this is the first time I've faced someone other than a Saiyan who is stronger than me. You'll make a worthy kill. Pui Pui crouched, energy flaring in the dust around his feet. Enough talk, he snarled, kicking off with explosive force. Fight! Vegeta slammed his boot into the ground, shifting into his battle stance. His left hand came up as a guard, right hand ready to strike. Pui Pui's opening punch blurred forward. Vegeta met it with his guard, then countered instantly, his free hand snapping toward Pui Pui's face. But Pui Pui dipped under the strike with a smooth, predatory motion, his own fist arcing low toward Vegeta's gut. The prince was already moving. His knee shot up to intercept the blow, blocking the strike with a sharp thud. But before Vegeta could counter, Pui Pui's opposite leg swept under him. Vegeta's boots lost their grip. For a heartbeat, his balance faltered. He dropped, hands slapping the ground, and used the momentum to spring back upright. He twisted just in time to avoid a whip-like kick aimed at his head, but the next attack landed clean. Pui Pui's knee slammed into Vegeta's chest with a crushing impact, forcing the prince upward into the air. Spinning mid-flight, Vegeta cocked his arm back and hurled a crackling sphere of blue energy. Pui Pui darted back, the blast grazing past his armor. But Vegeta didn't stop. Another blast came, then another, then a storm of them, each one detonating around the Zune warrior and filling the air with rolling smoke. The crowd saw nothing but the haze, but Vegeta's scouter saw everything as Pui Pui began to rise from the shroud. Vegeta's voice came from behind him, cold and mocking. Over here! Pui Pui spun, just in time for Vegeta's boot to rocket upward. The tip of the boot slammed into Pui Pui's chin, launching him into the sky. Vegeta didn't give him a heartbeat to recover. He shot up after him, bringing both fists down in a double axe handle to the back of the head, spiking Pui Pui toward the ground. But Pui Pui twisted in midair, landing on his feet. Vegeta closed in, throwing a punch high toward his face, only to shift low at the last instant, hammering a barrage of lightning-fast blows into his opponent's gut. Thud, 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 thud! Pui Pui's arms dropped low and clapped against Vegeta's back, forcing the prince's assault to stop. Then, his right palm smashed across Vegeta's jaw, followed instantly by a left hook. Vegeta's head snapped with each blow, but his grin only widened, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He wasn't humiliated. He was thrilled. In one sudden move, Vegeta seized both of Pui Pui's wrists. The two locked into a brutal contest of strength, muscles straining, neither breaking eye contact. Pui Pui frowned at the bloodied grin staring back at him. Does this brat actually enjoy this? Vegeta's voice was low, but steady. Just because you're a bit stronger doesn't mean I'm going to lose. He yanked Pui Pui's arms inward, planted both feet on the Zune warrior's chest, and kicked outward. The force broke their grip, sending Pui Pui reeling. Vegeta flipped, landed on all fours, then lunged forward in a blur. His head smashed into Pui Pui's stomach, and he poured ki into the rush, dragging his foe across the ground in a high-speed drive. Pui Pui's boots tore lines through the rock before the prince let go, hurling him forward across the battlefield. Vegeta's palm snapped forward. A sphere of bright blue ki roared to life. Goodbye! Kaboom! The blast detonated around Pui Pui mid-flight. The Zune people gasped, their cheers and defiance vanishing into shocked silence. Almost every warrior they had was dead. Pui Pui had been their last hope. Vegeta turned toward Nappa and Raditz, both clutching their injuries. He smirked, brushing dust from his armor. Now, Pip Pip! A voice thundered from above. You count me out too soon. Pui Pui dove like a meteor, knee first. The blow smashed into Vegeta's nose with bone-cracking force. The prince staggered back, but didn't fall, and Pui Pui was on him instantly. Without even using his fists, Pui Pui's legs became a blur, whipping across Vegeta's face and chest in a relentless barrage. The kicks ended with a savage double punch to the cheeks, followed by a leaping knee straight to the chin. Before Vegeta could even drop, Pui Pui seized his ankle and swung him overhead like a weapon, slamming him face first into the rock with an echoing crash. The Zune warrior then hurled him skyward and fired a ki blast straight into his back. The energy pushed Vegeta higher, the burning force tearing through his armor. Pui Pui shot past him in a flash, spun in the air, and brought his arm across in a vicious clothesline. He caught Vegeta's tail mid-spin, using it to hurl the Saiyan straight back down to the ground. Ha 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 ha! His laugh was sharp and cruel. Before Vegeta could land, the sky lit up. Dozens of ki blasts rained down, hammering him from every direction. To the crowd, it looked like he was being struck all at once. By the time his body hit the ground, the crater was already smoking. Raditz's jaw dropped. Can you believe this? Someone actually taking on Vegeta like that? Should we help him? Nappa's arm shot out in front of him. If there's one thing I know, we don't interrupt the prince's battles. He needs this. The crater stirred. Vegeta rose slowly, his breath ragged, blood running down his face. His scouter was gone, his armor cracked, his blue bodysuit shredded. And yet, I'm not done. Not yet. A flash of light, and they were on each other again. Their first punches collided, sending a booming shockwave into the sky. They went blow for blow, the ground trembling under each impact. Zip! Pui Pui vanished, reappearing behind him. Zip! Vegeta spun, but Pui Pui was gone again, his presence always just behind the prince's back. Then came the strike, a kick to the center of Vegeta's back, armor cracking under the blow, a blocked elbow, a knife hand chopped to the throat, a brutal headbutt, and a final kick launching the prince into the air. Zip! Pui Pui flashed above him and sent him rocketing back into the ground once more. Pui Pui stood with his arms crossed, his expression one of total boredom. His armor gleamed faintly in the starlight, untouched, despite the chaos that had torn the battlefield apart. You gave me a decent warm-up, he admitted with a smirk. I can at least give you that, but seriously, how do you expect to enslave an entire people if you, their strongest, can't even beat me? Pathetic. Vegeta, chest rising and falling with sharp breaths, lifted his head. The earlier spark of enjoyment in his eyes was gone, replaced by a cold, dangerous glare. Blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth as he sneered. Are you mocking me? Pui Pui tilted his head slightly and smiled. The prince's voice rose into a furious roar. Are you? He launched himself forward in a blur, refusing to acknowledge the weight of fatigue pulling at every muscle. His kai flared violently, scorching the air behind him. Pui Pui didn't even look rattled. A high kick shot toward his neck and was stopped dead by the alien's raised arm. Vegeta hopped back to reset, then charged again, this time aiming a straight punch at Pui Pui's chest. The Zune warrior caught the fist in one hand, locking it in place, his grip like iron. Vegeta ripped free and unleashed a furious flurry, his fists darting forward in rapid succession. But Pui Pui never unfolded his arms. He tilted and weaved, his head slipping past every strike with minimal effort. The prince's breathing grew heavier. His energy reserves were already dipping, and every wasted swing only drained him faster. Vegeta tried for a snapping sidekick. Pui Pui caught the leg under his arm, holding it with ease, then slammed his own boot into Vegeta's chest. The blow drove the air from the Saiyan's lungs, sending him sliding across the rocky terrain. Raditz's jaw tightened. Nappa's eyes narrowed. Vegeta forced himself upright, ki crackling at his heels. He tore forward again, but was met with a sudden crack as Pui Pui's foot smashed up under his chin, snapping his head back. The prince spun in the air, but recovered, dropping like a predator toward his target. And then, nothing. Pui Pui was gone. Vegeta landed in a crouch, eyes darting. Where? Over here. The voice came from directly behind him. Bam! A sledgehammer punch to the side of the face knocked Vegeta flat on his back. He rolled, teeth gritted, only to be met with a knee burying itself into his gut. The barrage began. Pui Pui's fists hammered into his chest, shoulders, and face. A storm of blows from every angle. The prince tried to grab his attacker's arm, but Pui Pui slapped his hands aside with contemptuous ease. A shove sent Vegeta stumbling back, boots scraping against the stone. His footing wavered. Pui Pui's smirk widened. Perfect. He raised his hand, ki already gathering in his palm. Let me help you with that, he said coldly. The blast struck point blank, an eruption of light and force that drilled Vegeta straight into the ground. The heat and impact tore across his skin, each nerve screaming in agony. His vision blurred. Voices from the crowd bled into his ears. Cheers, laughter, the sound of his enemy's people celebrating his defeat. Every bone felt heavy. For the first time in years, Vegeta's body refused to respond. Is he alive? Raditz's voice cracked as he asked, eyes darting toward the impact crater. Nappa's scouter beeped as he scanned. I've got him. He's alive. Barely. His powers dropped way down. This isn't good, Raditz muttered, glancing to the sky. No full moon. No Uzuru. No way to tip the scale. Pui Pui's shadow fell over the crater. He looked down at the battered prince, whose armor was gone, much of his undersuit shredded to ribbons. Well, Pui Pui said lightly. Still breathing. For a kid, you're tougher than you look. Vegeta forced his bloodied face up to meet his enemy's gaze. Every instinct screamed at him to rise, to attack, to kill, but his limbs betrayed him. His pride screamed louder. I am the prince of all Saiyans. I do not die on my knees. But how? Pui Pui aimed his palm at the prince's face. A potentially great life, cut short. How sad. No, you don't! Nappa's voice thundered like a cannon. He'd stayed back long enough. He knew Vegeta despised interference. But how could he face King Vegeta and say his son had died while he stood by? The Saiyan race needed the prince. He was their ticket to freedom. And Nappa wasn't about to let that vanish here. Drawing deep from his reserves, Nappa pulled all his power into the center of his body. His muscles trembled as if the pressure might tear him apart. Energy built inside him like magma in a mountain. Heat flooding upward through his chest and into his throat. His jaw opened wide, and the gathered force surged toward his mouth, condensing into a roaring sphere of blinding white light. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. He knew what was coming. And for once, he didn't push it away. He lunged forward, one hand clamping around Pui Pui's left leg, while his tail coiled tightly around the right. You're not moving, Vegeta growled. Pui Pui's smirk faltered for the first time. Even if it meant swallowing his pride, this was Vegeta's only shot. Nappa saw the opening, and he took it. Let go of me, Pui Pui snarled, his voice filled with venom. Even with Vegeta's grip locking both of his legs, the Zune warrior's raw strength was still greater. He wrenched himself free with a violent snap of movement, his armored foot whipping up in a brutal arc. Crack! The kick slammed into the side of Vegeta's temple, rattling the prince's skull and sending his head snapping sideways. Pui Pui dropped back into a stance, his hand already rising, ki flaring to life in his palm. The ball of energy swelled with lethal intent, his smirk returning. Let's end this, he growled. But then, a strange warmth crawled up his back. Not from the planet's heat. This was different. Sharper. Burning. What the hell? He turned his head just in time to see a blinding white eruption closing in on him. Too late. The blast struck with full force. the roar of its detonation ripping through the battlefield. The light swallowed him, flames curling across his bioarmor, and the shockwave kicked up a hurricane of dust. When the flare finally cleared, Pui Pui was still standing, but barely. His body smoked in the fading light, the air around him shimmering from the heat. Every breath he took came shallow, ragged. His knees twitched like they might buckle at any second. His voice was barely audible. Confusion and disbelief clouded his eyes. Just moments ago, he had the fight in his hands. Now, he couldn't even comprehend what had hit him. Nappa stepped forward, smirking like a predator who'd just caught his prey. Never turn your back on a Saiyan. He jerked his head toward Raditz. Finish the bastard off. Raditz's mouth curved into a wicked smile, with pleasure. He raised his arms high, palms cupped together. White energy began to swirl between them, threads of lightning crackling in its core. The power built steadily, humming louder with each second. From behind him, the desperate voices of the remaining Zune people rose, their pleas carrying across the battlefield. Stop! Don't kill him! Raditz heard every word, and it only made his grin stretch wider. Beg louder! He taunted. I'll make sure he hears it in the next life. Adieu. The ball of ki shot forward with devastating speed. Pui Pui couldn't move. The blast consumed him in an instant. The heat, the light, the pressure collapsing in on his body. And then there was nothing. No scream, no body, just dust and silence. The Zune people froze where they stood. Their greatest warrior, their one hope, erased so completely that the wind was already scattering what remained. Nappa turned to Raditz, his tone clipped. I'll get the prince. You know what to do. Raditz lowered his hand slowly, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. His smile was sharp enough to cut. Now, will you still fight back? He took a single step toward them, letting the tension stretch. Or will more of you die here? Silence. No one dared to speak. Then kneel, Raditz commanded, his voice carrying like a blade's edge. Kneel in allegiance to Lord Frieza, or die where you stand. The reluctance was heavy in the air, but one by one, the Zune people sank to their knees. No more cries, no more defiance, just submission. Raditz scanned the crowd. Every last one was bowed before him. Good, he muttered, satisfaction dripping from the word. Job's done. Nappa reappeared. Vegeta slung unconscious over his shoulder. Got him to comply, eh? Raditz's grin remained. Yeah, keep them together. They'll be getting more visitors soon enough. Without another word, the two Saiyan warriors boarded the ship. Vegeta carried inside. The hatch closed with a hiss, sealing off the noise of the conquered world. Inside, the ship hummed to life, engines roaring as coordinates were set for the nearest Frieza-controlled planet, a place to heal, rearm, and prepare for the next mission. In his seat, Vegeta stirred. His vision was blurred, colors blending together, but the steady vibration beneath him told him everything. They were in flight, heading away from Zune. Mission accomplished. And yet, in the shadows of his mind, questions crept in. Was this how his people had been brought under Frieza's thumb? Was this how the Saiyan race had been shackled? He pictured a proud band of Saiyan warriors, defiant to the last breath, cut down one by one until there was no choice left but surrender. Or had they simply knelt? The Saiyan were too prideful for that. They would fight no matter the odds. And still, the end result had been the same. They were ruled. The king had never spoken of it, but Vegeta didn't need to be told. The truth was as clear as the churning in his gut. It made him sick. And that's it for today's episode, guys. If you watched to the end, then that could be an indication that you enjoy the series. So please leave a like on the video. Thank you and take care.